Hello everybody, my name is Wren and I love Originality, so I decided to talk about it, this time featuring the works of Shakespeare. Let's kick things off with some Hamlet. Wait, hang on a minute, that's not my Hamlet footage. Let's restart. We'll take a different angle this time, give me time to find the right file. How about Twelfth Night?
Oh, right.
No, damn it, hang on. Othello. We'll do Othello. Romeo and Juliet.
Everything free in America.
For a small fee in America.
Oh, Taming of the Shrew. Surely that'll be LL Cool J? Screw it. Let's do Macbeth. That's gotta be fine, right? Theater and artsy folk don't even like saying its name because of some old superstition, and it's happened again. You know the funniest thing about this whole bit? It's that this wasn't even a pure fiction developed by dear old Billy Shakes. Hamlet was a 17th century hit that premiered about 30 to 40 years after François Belfort's Histoire Tragique, which was a 16th century collection of stories that notably included a very particular story composed by Saxo Grammaticus from the 13th century. What was the name of this story by Saxo Grammaticus, you may ask? Well, it sure as fuck wasn't Hamlet. We just know it takes up books 3 and 4 of Grammaticus's 16-book series on the history of the Danes. What I can give you is a brief overview of the tale those two books contain. In Grammaticus's version, King Rorik of the Danes places his trust in two brothers, Orvendil and Fengi. The brothers are appointed to rule over Jutland, and Orvendil weds the king's beautiful daughter, Geruth. They have a son, Amleth, closer to Hamlet than you might have guessed from something that has been described as a Norse legend, huh? But Fengi, lusting after Orvendil's new wife and longing to become the sole ruler of Jutland, kills his brother, marries Geruth, and declares himself king over the land. Amleth is desperately afraid and feigns madness to keep from getting murdered as he plans revenge against his uncle and becomes the new rightful king of Jutland. Definitely familiar, huh? So we skip ahead 350 odd years, and we get to Belfort's first translation. It's still not called Hamlet, but it is credited for making Hamluthis, Prince of Denmark, an iconic figure in the popular culture of the time. 50 odd years after that, meaning around 400 years after Grammaticus's version, we finally get the Hamlet that remains an enduring powerhouse of a tale to this day. Yet another 400 years later. And this is just one of the more obscure instances of Shakespeare doing this. He has some way more upfront pulls from history, like Julius Caesar, Antony and Cleopatra, Henry VIII, and Richard III. I just thought the fact that you can read an English translation of basically the same story from 800 years ago, right now, today, was cool as hell, and this felt like a natural way to share that link given my format. But let's be very clear here. This video isn't to give you an assigned reading task. This video is for me to talk about how much I love Originality by featuring perhaps the most famous playwright of the Western world. So let's get into it. Since I finally found the Hamlet footage, let's stick with that, shall we? Okay, so this is the scene where Hamlet has a performance stage that tells a very similar tale to the circumstances of his father's death, so that he can watch for signs of guilt in his uncle's expression and decide whether to go ahead with the vengeance tasked to him. If it looks a little different than what you were expecting or remembering, then that's because this footage is from Haydar, a 2014 film directed by Bishal Bhardwaj, set in 1995 Kashmir during the conflicts along the Indian and Pakistani border. It's also an adaptation of Hamlet whose file I have apparently lost again. Confused as to why I have been banging on about adaptation after adaptation after translation after adaptation this whole video, aren't I supposed to be talking about how much I love Originality? Well, let me explain. All of these things, despite being Hamlet, or I guess despite all being Amleth, are original. Originality, although it can mean doing something first and completely fresh, has an alternative definition that all too often gets ignored. Doing something in a way that shows a marked departure from previous practice. That is to say, doing the same old thing in a new way. This is the kind of originality I'm talking about when I say I love originality. Turning an old epic into a stage play, turning that stage play into a movie, turning that same stage play into an entirely different movie by using an entirely different technique and giving it an age restriction? I'm sure there's probably a musical or a sculpture or a series of paintings, maybe even a video game, doing this tried and true story too. Let me know your favorite Shakespeare adaptation in the comments. You see, something that you learn, hopefully early on in your pursuit of any kind of art, is that you cannot get hung up on being the first to do new stuff. Because the chance that you will genuinely get to do so without someone more informed in the art form than you wandering over and asking if you got your inspo for the piece from some dead guy you've never damn well heard of are next to zero, at least when you are a complete newbie. The more practice you get, the more life you experience outside of your art, the higher the likelihood that you will get to experience that magical rush of doing something completely unique. But for the most part, while you are still working your way to that point, a much healthier goal is learning to make the same old things using your own approach. To let go of that fear that maybe your story is too similar to what has been done before and instead focus on the parts of it that are you, to do the same old thing in a new way. I love this perspective on originality because it doesn't close off the possibility of eventually landing on a wholly unique original artwork, but it also doesn't negate your artistic achievements when all you feel up to doing is writing another coffee shop AU or doodling your favorite character again. Shakespeare didn't care if you had heard of Amleth or Richard or Caesar before. He cared that you watched his version of their stories, because no one else spun their tales like him. A fact so true that we still carry his works with us 400 years later. The only way any of us have any chance of reaching the same renown 400 years after we're gone will be to embrace the same approach to originality. No one can tell the exact same story as you because they do not have your background as a storyteller, nor your life experiences that inform how you present the players and the places of your story. And they sure as hell aren't beholden to whatever added or removed elements you decided to work with just to make your work more you. And if there's a voice screaming in your head that you are an imposter and that what I have said is actually just true for everyone except you, I want to remind you of every otome isekai, every police procedural, every Mario clone, roommates AU, outfit SWAT challenge that you have ever seen, and then I want you to ask that voice, does it know more about the act of original creation than William fucking Shakespeare? Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, please hit the button that lets me know so down below, and maybe say hi or share this with someone else while you're down there. Until next time, keep practicing hope, and don't be afraid to get punk about it.